The story of Professor Head, a world-famous child prodigy. He grew up to become professor of science at the University of Pomona. He was almost killed in an explosion that destroyed his lab. They were able to save only his head. After he recovered, he vowed to read stories to all the children of the world. It's now time for another story from Professor Head.
Hello everyone and welcome to another fun story during December. And today I'm going to read one of my favorite Dr. Seuss stories for Christmas, which you know what it is, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Are we ready? Here we go. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot, but the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas the whole Christmas season. Now please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be maybe his shoes were too tight. Could be maybe his head wasn't screwed on just right. But I think the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve hating the Whos, staring down with a sour, grinchy frown at their warm lighted windows below in their town, for he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging a holiday wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas. It's practically here. For tomorrow, I know, every Who boy and girl will wake up bright and early. They'll rush their toys. Oh, and the noise. If it's one thing I can't stand, it's a noise. Then those Whos will be doing something I really can't stand. Every Who, the young and the old, will sit down to a feast. And they'll feast. They'll feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beast. Roast beast is a feast I cannot stand in the least. Then those Whos will do something I hate most of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, will stand close together, with Christmas bells ringing. Those Whos will stand hand in hand and start singing. And they'll sing and they'll sing and they'll sing. Well, the more the Grinch thought of this Who Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 53 years I put up with it now. I must stop Christmas from coming. But how? Then the Grinch got an idea. An awful idea. He got a wonderfully awful idea. I know just what to do, the Grinch laughed in his throat. I'll make a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat. What a great Grinchy trick. With this hat and this coat, I'll look just like St. Nick. All I need is reindeer. The Grinch looked around, but since reindeers were scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the Grinch? The Grinch simply said, if I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. So he called for his dog Max, and he took some black thread and tied a big horn on the top of his head. Then he grabbed an old ramshackle sleigh and some old empty sacks, and he whistled for Max. He hitched up Max, he said, "Giddy up!" And the sleigh went down the hill where the poor little Whos lay asleep in the town. Quiet snow filled the air. All the Whos were dreaming sweet dreams without care when he came to the first house in the square. "This is stop number 1, the old Grinchy Claus hissed as he grabbed some sacks in his fist. He went down the chimney a rather tight pinch. But if Santa could make it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once. For a minute or two, then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue, where Whose stockings rung neatly in a row. These stockings, he grinched, are the first things to go. Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant around the whole tree, and he took every present. Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the Who's Feast. He took the Who Pudding. He took the Roast Beast. He cleaned out the icebox as quick as a flash. In fact, that awful Grinch even took the last can of Who Hash. Then he did the same thing to all the Who's houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Who's houses. Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee, and then grinned the Grinch, "Now I shall stuff up the tree." As he grabbed the tree, as he started the shove, he heard a small coo like a coo of a dove. It was little Cindy Lou Who was no more than 2. She said, "Santa, why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why?" Oh, that Grinch was so smart and so slick. He thought of a line, he thought of one quick. "Why, my sweet little tot," the fake Santa Claus lied, "there's a light on this tree that won't light on one side. I'm taking it back to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, and I'll bring it back here." Well, the fib fooled the child, and he patted her head, and gave her a drink, and sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who was in bed with her cup, he crept to the chimney and stuffed the tree up. Then he went up himself, the old liar. And the last thing he took was a log from the fire. On the walls he left nothing but hook and some wire. And the one speck of food he left in the house was even too small for a mouse. Then the Grinch did the same thing to all the Who's houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Who's mouses. It's 1:15. All the Who's still abed, all the Who's still a snooze, when he packed up a sleigh, packed with ribbons, wrappings, packages, everything. And he sent him up to the tip-top of Mount Crumpet, to the very tip-top, to dump it. "Ah, ah, ah," grinned the Grinch. "I just can't wait to hear." So he put a hand to his ear, and he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started out low, and it started to grow. But those Who's weren't boo-hooing. Those Who's, every Who down in Whoville, was singing, without any packages at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or another, it came just the same. And the Grinch, with his feet ice cold in the snow, stood there puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without packages. It came without bags. It came without tinsel. Packages or bags. He puzzled and puzzled till his puzzle was sore. And then he thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. Well, in Whoville, they say, the Grinch's small heart grew 3 times that day. Well, his heart not feeling, chest and heart not feeling so tight, he whizzed through the morning light with the packages. He brought everything back. He brought back their puzzles, their games, their food for the feast. And he, himself the Grinch, carved the roast beast. Now, wasn't that a great Christmas story? How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Well, I'll see you next week for another fun Christmas holiday story.
Another fine story read to you by Professor Head.